So let's talk about the business process, about building up the business process. And to summarize and review pretty well all of the things that we've talked about so far. The first thing that we want to be able to start with is to create that list of potential events for your project. That's a project scope blitz. And remember that much earlier I said, you really only need to have one or two or three events to get you started. But it's a whole lot better to be able to do a project scope blitz where you have a fairly robust list. The difference being that if you have one or two or three to get you started, you'll find all the other events as you go through the process of building processes and the business rules tables. The difference is that you won't know how much time you need if you only start with one, two, or three events on your list. But if you do the project scope blitz, and it's a fairly robust list, that'll be very, very accurate. If you end up with a list of 25, for example, you know exactly how long it's going to take because it all works out very nicely. 25 would mean that it's 100 hours of work, and it involves 25 hours with your subject matter experts and the rest with yourself and perhaps a co-pilot working with you. So with that list, you pick one event to start with. Stay focused on that one event. Don't go away from that event. Don't go down the different roads that you're going to encounter as you go along. With that one event, put the event name on top of the diagram and keep it focused. You see over here, we have an event, bill arrives from the suppliers. You write that out. Next thing is you draw the bubble. So you draw this bubble, nothing else, on the diagram. Don't try to figure out everything that might be on it and so on. And because I've seen a number of people do that, where they stand back from the drawing, from their blank page, their canvas, and they say, well, what might all the stuff be that should be on that drawing? And if you do that, you're going to spend a whole lot of time staring at that blank page, and that's just not a very good thing to do. The brain likes to get kick-started. So draw the circle and nothing else. Don't label it. And then ask, how do I know that, and then put in the event statement. How do I know that the bill arrives from a supplier? And the answer is I know it arrives from a supplier because we got it. So you can put the supplier in here, and you put data flow, you get the bill from the supplier. Once you have that, so now you have a circle, you have supplier, and you have one data flow. You don't have all this other stuff. And then you can say, okay, now that I know that I've got the bill from the supplier, what do I want to do about that? You talk to your subject matter experts, and they'll say, well, you want to be able to make sure the supplier is a legitimate supplier, that the bill is for us, in other words, and we want to be able to keep track of that bill. If it's not an accredited supplier with us, then we want to reject the bill. So you can draw that there. You can put supplier as an object. You can see if it's an accredited supplier from us with a query response. And you can reject it if it's not. You keep track of the bill if it is. And the third question is, what do I want to keep track of or report? Well, I want to keep track of the bill. And we've already done that, so we've got it all in this case here. So that means you now have this diagram minus these numbers. It's not labeled yet. And then we write the narrative based on the tasks we identify. So we identify a task here with the data flow. Here we identify a task with this dialogue data flow. Here's another data flow. And here's another data flow. And we can write a narrative in point form or in any prose that you like. The point form is good because you don't have to worry about punctuation, you don't have to worry about grammar, things like that. You just write a task statement. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 tasks. Write those down, and then, so now you have a narrative. Then you give it a name, such as receive bill or record bill, something like that. A good strong verb noun construct in this case. Okay? Then you do the business rules table. The business rule table, in this case, will only have two objects, supplier and payable item. You do the table, you write up the rules under the appropriate object, document those answers, Bob's your uncle, we're all done. Keep this sheet, because this is a review of everything you have to do. Everything else is the details of what you've seen, what you've heard, and what you've read about this. Keep this sheet in front of you, and you'll do very, very well indeed.